And this is what I say.
Right now on 97.7 FM, we are live with the one and only Sean Dowdell of the amazing Phoenix, Arizona-based group Gray Daze. But I'm going to dive right into this, man, because I know you're a busy guy. You're putting in work with this amazing new album coming up. But in the early 90s, you started the group alongside the one and only, the late, great Chester Bennington. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners the story behind this group. And, of course, how did you originally meet Chester?
I originally met Chester through a friend when we were auditioning singers for a band in 1992. A guy by the name of Chris Hewlett said, "Hey, I know this kid. He sounds just like Eddie Vedder. We should try him out for the band." So he brought him down the next day, and he walked into the rehearsal room, and he was this skinny little kid, 15 years old, and this tight curly hair. And it was funny because at the time I was thinking he just he didn't really look like a rock star, and then he got up on the microphone and he just was incredible. And I think he sang a Pearl Jam song, and literally halfway through the song I look at the other guys, I'm like, okay, when can he start? So I had to go and talk with his father. I think I was 17 or 18, he might have been 15 or 16, and had to ask his dad for permission. And his dad gave us permission to start the band, and then we went from there.
And I got to say as well, when you actually said he didn't look, obviously he didn't look the part, but when you actually first heard him, how he screams in obviously your guys' music and Linkin Park's, did he do that on stage for the first time and actually just go to a soft melody after that?
No, at that time he was really into Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, and Jane's Addiction, and he was trying to emulate those bands. You got to remember, when you're a teenager, you haven't really developed your style yet. So it took him a couple of years to really develop into who he became. So the first, few times, first year or two, we were just feeling each other out and trying to develop our own style. So yeah, he didn't have that scream or any of that stuff developed yet at that time.
And also as well, January 22nd of 1994, you guys actually performed your very first show together at Thunder and Lightning Bar and Grill out there in Scottsdale, Arizona. From what you can actually recall of that evening, can you tell our viewers a bit more about that debut show? And of course, what was the atmosphere just like being on stage all together as one?
Well, to be honest, I don't remember that show. We played hundreds of shows, so and Chester and I had played, just to back up a little bit here, we played in our first band, which was not Gray Daze, it was SD and his friends, for a year and a half. So we had played out shows well before that. First incarnation of Gray Daze would have been 1993. So I don't think that timeline for the Thunder and Lightning show is quite correct. It might be, but that became kind of a regular stop for us. So we played that club maybe 20, 30 times over a couple years before we advanced to bigger and better things. But in the early days, it was just lots of energy, and it wasn't really confined to a systematic approach to the stage presence and set lists and things like that. So it was a little bit more chaotic, but definitely more raw energy. And he was always a good performer. He just developed it better and better over time.
And going back as well, when you actually said, the Friends spot days, you guys actually recorded a phenomenal 3-track cassette demo back in the day. I was wondering if you can actually shed some light on that early release project. And of course, is it still is it leaked on the internet to actually be listened to today? Because I do know a lot of the fans would definitely enjoy to actually get their hands on one of those.
That's funny. I knew you were going to throw a curveball. So the SD and his friends, that was our first real studio experience. We recorded at a studio called Pantheon Studios in Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, rather. And, you can hear how young he is singing. You can hear how raw and undeveloped I am as a drummer and just the band members in general. But they're still kind of cool songs. They're not, I wouldn't call them great songs, but that demo it's got some character, it's got some attitude, and you can kind of see what's developing, kind of bubbling in the pot, so to speak, as young men when we were putting that together. So it's kind of funny to see those tapes now. They go for like $1,500, and it's just, for me, it always puts a smile on my face when somebody brings that up, or a fan comes up with one of those T-shirts or something. That always makes me smile. So, good times, a lot of fun.
I got to say as well, I actually had my hands on one of those in the early 2000s, and I happened to lose it. Tried to replace it by going on Discogs, and legit, like you said, it was so much money. I was like, oh God, that's more than my rent a month.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, I've thought about maybe putting it out as a digital package or something, just for the fans. I have to get through the Grey Daze material first, but I think if there's enough interest, I'll probably put that out there for you guys.
And also as well, in 1994, you guys actually independently released your debut 12-track album titled Wake Me. I was always wondering, what is the story and inspiration behind this phenomenal, amazing classic album?
Wow, you pay too much tribute, I think. That's thanks for saying those kind words. Well, it was really our first full-length record, and I don't know that we had a concept or thought process behind anything else other than creating an album that our fans could buy at the time. We had a pretty large fan base at the time, and that was the way for you to get your music out back then, was create a CD. You didn't have Spotify or iTunes or any of that stuff. So Wake Me was our first full length. It did really well. I think we had 2 different runs of printouts, and I know those are worth a fortune now too on the internet, which is kind of funny. But I really got to develop a lot songwriting wise with that record, and it was fun to do. And some of those vocal performances that Chester did on that album are just great, And we used some of those tracks, those vocal performances, on the new album, The Phoenix. My favorite song from that album was a song called Starting to Fly, and the new rendition that's going to come out in a couple weeks, I think, is going to blow your socks off.
And also as well, because back in the 90s, I know this was actually independently released. So you guys, you didn't have a record deal. You guys released it all on your own. Back in the 90s, a lot of individuals weren't really thinking like that. A lot of individuals were just, they're like, I got to get a record deal. I got to get a record deal. But you guys just released it independently without searching for one. What made you guys decide to actually put that out yourselves rather than kind of sending it to any record labels?
Well, we were definitely searching for record labels. We ended up signing 3 different record deals back in those days. Wake Me was a highway to getting a record deal. As soon as we produced that record, we would send it out, and I think within a year, our first record deal with Sony came through. So we actually were getting a lot of label interest at the time, but you can't sit around and wait for that stuff. You kind of got to put the wheels in motion to make things happen. And if a record deal came along, then we would go back and redo it. That was the thought process at the time, but we had fans that wanted our music, so it was natural for us to print records.
And I got to say as well, still a phenomenal debut album. With the way you guys actually came with that project, the delivery, the lyrics, everything that you guys put together. Honestly, if you were to go back and listen to that today, I wouldn't have even thought to myself that was a debut project.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. We'd been in the studio many times before that, but we never went all the way to the production of an album. So there's a bunch of unreleased demos out there somewhere. I've seen them floating around the internet. I have some of them, but I know Dave Nauer, one of the first producers, has a bunch of unreleased material as well. So, but thank you. The only thing that I think we missed the mark on was the album cover for that album. I just think, I don't even know what we were thinking with that. I still can't wrap my mind around how we ended up with that, but it is what it is.
Hey, everyone has to start somewhere. You know what I mean? I've seen actual debut albums with just white blank covers with like normal writing. So you guys definitely did a much better than other individuals that I've seen.
Oh, thank you.
And also, I do know you mentioned a few moments ago that you guys done hundreds upon hundreds, probably thousands of shows and whatnot. But the one that I remember was actually where you guys actually did Earth Day Festival out there in 1996. From what you actually can remember, how did that opportunity actually come to be? And of course, just partaking on one of the biggest stages within the music industry.
So that's an excellent question. So I don't remember how the opportunity came about, but I do remember we had 2 shows that day. So we played, I think, around 6 or 7 o'clock at the stadium or the At the time, it was called now it's called Off Chin Pavilion, but at the time it was called Desert Sky Pavilion. And what it was probably the biggest venue we ever played. It was I think the venue seats like 18,000 to 20,000 people, but when we played, it was only like 4,000 or 5,000 people, so there wasn't many people there. But it still felt great. It was great to play that venue. And then we had to pack our stuff and then drive across town, and we played a sold out show at a place called the Electric Ballroom that same night. But that was I actually remember that show very well. It was a lot of fun, and the biggest venue we ever played up to that point.
And I gotta say, like I said, you can never go wrong with Earth Day Festival, man. So many legendary acts had the opportunity to take that stage at that festival every single year, man. So, I remember as well. They actually used to broadcast that all over the world as well.
That's cool. That's cool to even hear that you remember that. So, thank you. That's good memories.
And also as well, man, February 27th of 97, you guys actually released your second and as of now until June, final album before actually going on a hiatus. Can you tell our listeners a bit more about this phenomenal project? And of course, what was it like just being in the studio putting this second record together?
So it was actually our third record. So in 1995 or 1996, we signed a record deal with Real Records, and we spent 10 months recording an album with them. Literally the days where we were listening to the final mixes of what was going to become our first label album, they lost their funding and distribution through, I think it was Interscope at the time, I'm not sure. But they basically folded, and we were left just standing there without an end product after 10 months. So we went back into the studio very shortly after that at the Conservatory of Recording Arts, and Mike Jones helped us engineer that album, and it came out. No Sun Today was the title of that. Love that record. I still think it holds and stands the test of time. So I really like it. I've got several songs that are very emotionally meaningful to me, and hopefully some of you.
And when you said as well that unfortunately the label folded and whatnot during that production, do you think the world will ever get the opportunity to hear that album today, or is it unfortunately completely just shelved?
No, I think there is a good opportunity for that. So there's a guy by the name of Glenn Parrish who owned the record label, and he does some stuff out of LA, and still speak with him, and they have that record. So at some point, I hope to get my hands on it, and there's at least 3 or 4 different songs that are unreleased that people would like to hear.
And also, one of my favorites off that 97 record I have to bring up is actually B12. It's always my go-to joint when I listen to that album. But I have to ask, what was it like just actually putting together that song? And of course, what's the inspiration behind it?
I think, the inspiration is behind just the matter of massive chaos in the world and all kinds of things that are going wrong. And but the chorus line, "Hooray, hurrah," is like, you think I'm stupid. I do see the stuff that's going on around me, but there's not much I can do about it. So just charge through it. That's really what the song is about. I do remember we were in rehearsal studio at the time, and Mace was messing around on his bass guitar and came up with that original bass line, and that's how the song started musically. And then Chester threw his lyrics over the top. He wrote the lyrics for that song 100%, and it just had that kind of anthem feel. And redoing it on the album Amends was really fun too, with Head and Monkey.
And also as well, aside from the music industry here for a moment, in the early 2000s, I actually read that yourself and Chester ventured into business together, where you both opened up a tattoo shop. I was wondering, what actually made you guys decide to just open up that parlor and, of course, get into business with one another?
Well, he helped me open my first studio with Mace back in 1995. It was in Tempe, Arizona. We now have 6 studios. Chester became a full business partner in 2003, and it was a passion project of his and mine. We really enjoyed being in business together. We did a lot of really cool things. We did a global shoe rollout with Etnies, and hair clippers with Oster, and bicycle playing cards with the Bicycle Playing Card Company. we got to do a lot of really great things, and he always loved club tattoo. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of the really in the know Lincoln Park and Great Daze fans will see Chester wearing club tattoo and just a ton of his live performances, because he always wanted to push our brand. We did a bunch of in-house autograph signing sessions and meet and greets at Club Tattoo. We always tried to involve Club Tattoo in things that we are doing, and he loved the brand. He loved doing that outside, and it always made money for him. So not only was it successful monetarily, but it was fun to be in a partnership, with Best of Friends and doing that together. We did a bunch of things. We played in side bands. We had a couple clothing lines, and of course Club Tattoo. So it was just a lot of fun to be involved in him, and just so many different things.
And I have to ask, do you think in the future you might actually ever open up your own variation of club tattoo and kind of get back into that business, or is that just something you did then and it kind of is in the past now for you?
No, that's my full-time thing. I have 6 studios. I have 130 employees. That's what I do day to day. Is I'm the CEO for that corporation, and club tattoo is a part of my DNA. It's never going to go away. We're in the process of expanding right now. So,
hey, hopefully you guys can actually expand out here to Canada, because we definitely need more tattoo shops.
Yeah, we're looking at Toronto. We're looking at Vancouver. We've got a few things in the pipeline. So in the next couple of years, you're going to be seeing some massive expansion from Club Tattoo.
Hey, I actually venture out to Toronto quite frequently, so if you guys open up one out there, I definitely got to slide on through and actually get, I think, my 15th tattoo.
Nice. Well, if you're ever in Vegas or Phoenix in the meantime, stop in and say hi.
And also as well, before Chester's unfortunate passing, you guys actually reunited and brought Grey Daze back together. I was wondering if you can actually tell our viewers a bit more about that, and of course, what actually made yourself and Chester and Grey Daze return after all these years?
Okay, that's a long question, long answer to a complicated question. So as I alluded to before, we played in a lot of side projects. So every few years we throw these gigantic Club Tattoo anniversary parties where 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people would show up, and Chester and I would handpick a couple of friends, and we'd get up on stage. We'd just have a great time, and things would be very chaotic. We'd have other bands like Alien Ant Farm, and I think we had Fort Minor play one of the shows with us, and Chester and I with Z-Trip played one of the shows. So we would throw these big parties. We always had so much fun playing with our friends. And then when Chester went into Stone Temple Pilots and had to leave that project, it really broke his heart. He really loved that band. I don't think a lot of people realize how much fun he was having in Stone Temple Pilots. And when he left that band, I think he felt like he didn't have something of just his own. And in 2016, we were on the phone. I want to say it was October. We got on the subject of throwing another club tattoo party because we hadn't thrown one in a couple of years. And he said, you know what, I've been thinking about that. And for the next one, I think we should put Grey Daze back together and see what happens. Well, as we started planning that out, all of a sudden we started getting massive offers to tour around the world. And Chester and I would talk, once a week, and these things would kind of develop. And so eventually we're like, well, let's go back in and re-record some of the material. So we started working with a producer named Sylvia Massey and started recording and rewriting some of the stuff. And we were scheduled to start rehearsals. The band had already started rehearsals while he was out on tour at Lincoln Park. And he was coming from LA to Phoenix the weekend that he ended up passing away on that Thursday. We were supposed to start rehearsals on Sunday together. So that's how it all came together. And then about 8 months after he passed, the band and I decided to finish the music and put it out.
And I got to say as well, as a fan, I haven't really cried very much when, a celebrity passed away. But when I heard the news of Chester, I really feel that the music industry and all of his fans kind of really stood still for a while and really couldn't believe it. So I got to say, from me to you, because you knew him personally, I only knew him through his music. My sincere condolences for your loss.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
But pertaining to this record as well, June 17th, 2022, great way to kick off the summer. This album is going to be released worldwide, titled The Phoenix. I was wondering, what can our listeners expect from this phenomenal release? Because I do know we already had a taste of it when you released a few videos, but I got to say, I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of this project.
So this is a straightforward, punch you in the mouth rock album. There's a lot of anthem rock songs on it. You're going to hear Chester scream like you remember and love. The music is very powerful. It's the last album was very emotional. It was a little somber, a little sad, a little slower. This is a little bit faster, a little bit more powerful, and it just rocks. I'm super proud of this record. I think the guys did a great job. S.J. Jones did a great job producing it. She was a lot of fun to work with, and we wrote this album over a period of about a year. So we took our time. We really developed everything. And then Lucas D'Angelo did a phenomenal job mixing it. Emily Lazar mastering them. Everybody just did a great job. I think every person involved in this particular album is hitting on all cylinders, and we're really proud of it.
And I also heard as well that Chester's children are actually featured on the record as well. I was wondering, well, what was it like actually, obviously, you met Chester when he was 15. What was it like actually just being able to see his children in the studio working alongside you? Was it kind of a deja vu moment for you?
No, because I've been around the kids quite a bit. I've been around the kids their whole life. So it's second nature for that. But what it felt like was a way, how do you give something to somebody who's passed away, right? And for us, Chester was so special, not only as a band member, but as a friend. This felt like it was a way we could give back to our friend, because he had his kids in the studio with him all the time, but he never recorded songs with them. And that was something that we were able to do for him. And it was not only special for us, it was special for the kids, it was special for Talinda, and it was, I think, that it's special for Chester, and he's looking down and smiling.
And also, I do know we spoke about a few moments ago about how there is an unreleased album out there that, might see the light of day one day. But aside from that project, man, I do know a lot of fans after they heard about this album and after they will hear it, a lot of fans are probably going to ask, is there any other unreleased Chester Bennington vocals, and will there be another Grey Daze album after this, or is this sort of the final curtain call?
No, we're already planning on doing another acoustic EP this year. There's a ton of unreleased Chester material, so we have at least 18 songs that have not been released with Grey Daze project. We have, I know of at least 40 Linkin Park songs that were never released with Chester singing, and I have no ideas what those guys are going to do with that. It's probably a lot more than that. That's just we used to hang out, and as we were driving around, he'd play me some of the stuff they were working on all the time. That happened for years. So over the years, I know there's at least 40, 50 songs that they never released, probably more. And then there's a full Stone Temple Pilots album that Chester recorded with those guys that never got released, and it's phenomenal. So there's some great stuff out there. There's great Linkin Park songs that never released with Chester on it too. And I hope someday Mike decides to release that stuff. But at the end of the day, that's up to those guys, and that's their band and their decision. So I respect that either way or what they want to do. But I think the majority of Chester fans want to hear anything he's done.
I got to say, I definitely agree with that statement. I'm pretty sure I can speak for all the fans that we definitely do. Awesome.
Well, we're doing our part, and we're proud of the music we made with him. So we want people to hear it, and for those people that get excited about it, it's great. It feels like it connects with people emotionally, and we're very proud of that. And for those that get it, we'll keep doing what we can do.
And looking back on the your entire band's history, the one thing I have to ask, man, is what is one of your most fondest memories that you just shared with the late great Chester Bennington that really makes you sit back and go, wow, those were the days?
Man, I have hundreds of them. Most of the memories that I have that are super special are off the stage. But you want me to share with something off the stage or something on the stage?
I would say just surprised me. I didn't really think that far into the question, to be honest with you.
Well, we were very big into playing pranks on each other, very big on it. Excuse me. And we would do things like we would buy very obscene and enormous statues and place them in each other's front yards. You know, when he moved back to Phoenix, we lived a couple blocks away from each other, and we would see each other very, very often. And I remember I bought a giant statue of a Sasquatch and put it in his front yard. And we live in very nice neighborhoods, so you can imagine, you know, this very nice house with this giant Bigfoot statue in the front yard. And he didn't see it for a couple of days because he wasn't home. So when he got home, he called me, and we had a good laugh and cry about it because it was too funny not to do. So that was a good story. We always play pranks on each other.
And what was one of the statues that he actually put in your yard? Like, what was anything obscene like that?
He bought me statues of these wrought iron frogs with trumpets, and he put them in my backyard. So it took me a couple days to find those things. He placed them all over. Cockroaches with giant cockroaches playing trombones, and frogs with guitars and like Mexican outfits. He had a good sense of humor.
And also, quickly going back to this up-and-coming album, The Phoenix, where can we actually pre-order ourselves a copy? And, of course, what formats do you guys actually have coming out? Is it just strictly CD? Is it digital, cassette, vinyl?
All the above. So there'll be several versions of the vinyl. So the way that works, you know, this is different retailers want some type of exclusivity, right? So you have Target that wants an exclusive, so they want it to be a different color. You have Walmart that wants a different exclusive, so they want it to be a different color. So you get into these things where the fact that they want to carry a record is a great thing, but you end up with like 5-6 different versions of the same record with different looks. That's not a band decision, by the way. That's a retail decision, and in order to get carried in these certain exclusive retailers, Sam Goody or Zia or whatever it is, they all want something different. So the way the record labels have been able to do that for them is to package it different, so that there's a different packaging that only goes to them. So you're going to see it on, I think there's 4 or 5 different vinyls. I think the Revolver one already sold out in like an hour or two. But that was kind of cool to see. I don't even know if I'm going to get one of those, which is kind of funny. And it'll be on CD, and of course it'll be on Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. So, and then you can go to greatdaysmusic.com and get the music pre-ordered through there.
And when I normally do these live Instagram videos, I always like just choosing one individual that, you know, asked a question. And I got to bring up this question because I feel this question is actually really good to ask. Boss underscore MANNN7 actually asked, would you guys be open to having Chester's older son that was featured in Soul Song play a show with Grey Daze?
No. I mean, I understand the intent and the thought behind that, but no. That wasn't why we had him sing on the song. We had him sing on a track so that we could connect Chester with his kid. It wasn't to try to replace Chester, and that's not something we're interested in doing. So I hope everybody understands that. It's from a respect point of view. And we had his son sing on the album because we wanted to connect those two through music. But it's not, there's no way forward with that for us.
I got to say, I definitely respect that as well, especially from being in the studio and then being on a stage is a completely different atmosphere and a completely different presence. Recording is one thing, but performing is something different as well.
Look, we would do some performances with some guest vocalists as long as it was done in a tribute fashion to Chester. We have no interest in trying to replace him. It just doesn't interest us. That's not why we finished the music. That's not why we're doing this in the first place. And I don't want to be disingenuous as to the intention of what we're doing. You know, we get a lot of offers, crazy offers to go play live, but it's not what we're here for.
But also as well, before we wrap things up, I have to ask, because obviously, aside from this record, I know you said you're planning on working on another project as well. Other than that, what is next for yourself, Sean, and of course the rest of Grey Daze? Is there anything you still want to talk about or promote while we still got you here live on IG this afternoon?
You know, my career is pretty awesome. So I get to travel the world. I get to do a lot of stuff in the business world. I just published a book last year. It's my second book. So life is good. I just take it as it comes. I'm always working on new things. nothing really I want to promote right now, but the new album drops in June. We'll be working on another EP this year. That'll just be an acoustic EP, and then we'll see what comes. We'll try to see what we can wrangle on some of these other unreleased tracks and just see where it takes us.
And also, before we actually wrap things up, also I have to ask, because obviously I know we are on Instagram, so individuals are just a tap away from following you guys. But on the rest of social media, how can they actually find Gray Daze and, of course, the music as well, aside from the website?
You can find Gray Daze on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, of course, our website, graydazmusic.com. I think, is there any questions from some of the watchers that you want to ask me? I'm happy to take a few questions if you'd like as well before we wrap up.
And the one that I do have is actually, it says from Glenn D. May actually asked, what is your favorite lyric from your last album?
From my last album, I would have to say it's off Moray Sky, and it's If I Had a Second Chance, I'd Make Amends. I think it's the the most meaningful lyric on that record, which is why we named the record Amends. And then on this new album, The Phoenix, let me think about that for just a moment. No, most meaningful lyric. I like the vocal tempo of a song called Be Your Man. It used to be called Holding You. The melted candles on the windowsill, perfume in the haze. I like the picture he's painting with that line. It's kind of unique and cool.
And I just got to say, first and foremost, thank you so much for just giving me a bit of your time. I can tell in the background you're not quite home right now. So you fitted me into your day, man. And truthfully, I just got to say, while I have you here, obviously my radio station is very urban. We play all kinds of different music, but myself as a DJ, I grew up with Gray Daze, Linkin Park, and Chester was one of my idols. So truthfully, just being able to interview and help promote, Chester Bennington's first band's album. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for your guys' music, I don't know where I would be today. So for that, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. You have a great day.
Hey, you as well. Thank you so much. Happy Sunday.
Take care. Bye-bye.